I think we all recognize that we face a homeless crisis here in Anchorage, and this project is a step to get homeless people off the streets and into permanent housing. As a community member, I think all of us have been touched by homelessness, whether we have friends or family who are experiencing homelessness or we see it within our community. We want to work together to find workable solutions, and so that brings me to why we're here this evening. We want to hear from you and listen to your concerns and your questions as we move forward with this project. It's critical to the success of the project. So a little bit about how we're going to structure this evening. My name is Lucita Chmielowski. I am with Dal and helping to facilitate the listening session this evening. And I also have some Saxton with me. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Saxton Shear. I'm a project manager for this project on behalf of the municipality.
Thanks, Saxton. So just so you know, we have lots of opportunities for you to provide input. You can sign up if you haven't already to provide public input this evening. If you're not comfortable with getting up in front of everyone and speaking, we do also have comment forms in the back, which you can fill out and leave with us this evening or email them to us. There's the project email on the bottom of the form. There's also a QR code in the back of the room that will take you to an online survey and comment form. We will also be back here on April 28th for another listening session. And then with that, I'm going to hand it over to Saxton to tell you a little bit about the project.
Hello, just to collect my thoughts, I've organized all the key points of this project to date, and I'll work off my narrative. Good evening, my name is Saxton Shear. I'd like to first thank you all for coming out and giving us your thoughts on this project that will help our city's most vulnerable get the compassionate care that they need to be successful. The Tudor Elmore site was selected as the preferred site for the following reasons. Proximity to medical facilities, bus services, the pedestrian overpass, zoning, and distance from residential neighborhoods. The site is also adjacent to the APD administration building, which can offer another level of support for the center employees and residents. MCG Explore Design was selected utilizing an existing term contract, while Roger Pickle was awarded through an RFP process to work with the municipality of Anchorage to develop the structure, solution, and site plan for the new MOA Navigation Center. The initial concept is for a 20,000 to 30,000 square foot facility, but the size will be driven by the final programming. This will include intake and facility management, gathering and communal dining, overnight shelter, treatment and counseling, food service, building support and storage, and site amenities. The space requirements are also based on the International Building Codes, which requires 50 square feet per person for the shelter area. Based on consultation with MOA subject matter experts, this is consistent with national shelter standards. Due to ongoing need to provide housing and support services to assist in getting the homeless off the streets, the proposal is for a pragmatic fabric structure opposed to typical construction. This will reduce the construction time frame and is consistent with other successful facilities around the country. Fabric structures have been used for the navigation centers across the U.S. because they can be constructed quickly and economically to meet the ever-growing demand. This project will go through the following municipal processes of permitting: wetland permit modification, conditional use permit, and the building permit. We are meeting regularly with MOA reviewers to respect requirements and deliverables prior to submitting permits. MOA is considering purchasing the structure and authorize site grading and utility work prior to the issuance of the conditional use permit to try to have the facility open this fall. We are trying to balance working with the community to have a successful project while delivering the much needed services as quickly as possible. We are committed to working with community and assembly members. We will have another listening session on 4/28. Your comments will assist us in finalizing the development of the facility and operations plan. We will be holding a community meeting in May for the conditional use permit, and we will be able to provide more details about the facility and programming at that time. Again, we appreciate you being here and look forward to working with you all to make this a success to help those in need. Thank you.
Thanks, Saxton. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the conditional use permit process, just so folks who don't know about that process have a better understanding of what's involved. So a conditional use permit process is really to look at whether a use is compatible on a particular property. And not only is it compatible with the surrounding uses, whether that's residential or commercial businesses, but also looking at things like traffic, utilities, life safety. So looking at the bigger picture, making sure it's a compatible use. And so to start the conditional use permit process, as Saxton mentioned, we will be having a community meeting and visiting with community councils to talk about the project. And so we'll be taking your input this evening and trying to factor that into the design or into the programming. And if you have questions this evening, we will be coming back to you as we start that conditional use permit process. So there's another opportunity for public input. Then once we submit our application package to the city, they do route it to different agencies for review. And there's an opportunity for there's an opportunity for community to provide written comments. And then when we go before the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is our kind of final step in the process to present the case, they do have a public hearing portion, so people can come up and speak during that hearing as well. So there's lots of opportunities for us to work together on this project and to provide your input along the way. So a couple things as we get started for public input this evening. We do ask that if you haven't already and you want to provide input, see the ladies out at front and get signed up. They'll give you a number. And then, like I mentioned before, if you don't feel comfortable giving public input tonight, please use our comment form or the QR code at the back of the room here on this table to provide information. And then we do ask that people be respectful and speak one at a time. So people are going to be coming up one at a time to speak. If there's a lot of heckling or side conversations, you're just taking away time and the opportunity for your neighbors to provide input. We think there's enough time for approximately 30 people to come and provide input tonight. And if we are asking that people limit their input to 3 minutes, and we will have a timer up on the screen so that you know how much time you have. If you run out of time, we will ask you to finish up your comments. If you have additional comments and input, again, you can use the comment forms at the back of the QR code or come back on the 28th and speak with us more then. So with that, we're going to group people or ask people to come up in groups of 5 to help kind of facilitate the presentation. And so if you were numbers 1 through 5, we would ask you to come up here to the front row and find a seat. And then we'll call you up one at a time. When you are done speaking, please feel free to return to your seat. So once we get through number 5, we'll call the next 5. And before you start speaking, if you would please state your name, your first and last name, and then we'll start the timer for your 3 minutes. So with that, I will ask speaker number 1.
So does this need to be adjusted or turned on?
Let me make sure it's on.
So you're working? Work better? So my name is Troy Weiss. I live in the Basher community. I lead the Basher Community Patrol, which is, and the safety meeting or the safety committee that supports the community council in that area. So we've met, we work a lot on safety and the navigation this is trying to do to us in the navigation facility. The main fears that we have, and it was really nice because you had the map showing. Is there any way to put the map back up?
Not have the timer, sorry.
Okay, so forget that. Anyway, on that map, it shows areas that presently have a lot of camping. So we ride our bikes, we participate in this community in this area. On the south side of Tudor, also the south side of Elmore, there's presently a lot of camping that goes on in there. So there is a lot of camping. I see one of your things is that it'll prohibit camping within a mile. That's great. I'm not sure it's going to be good enough when you go around the Sullivan Arena. There's a lot of camping. The municipalities come in and made it fire safe, done a lot of trimming of woods, trimming of trees. But where we live is on the other side of North Centennial Park, which is one of the jewels of our neighborhood and of Anchorage. But it's not maintained for fire safety. There's beetle kill. There's a lot of down spruce, or a lot of down foliage, and it is a fire potential. We have evacuated the area up there before. 2 years ago, we had a fire over in the service area, Service High School. We did evacuation as they got that under control, and that was because of a homeless camp. So our biggest fear is around safety. We have one road in, one road out that gets out of that area. If there's fires that come up, you got about 225 homes that are stuck up there on the other side of a fire, and we don't have a way out. So that's our biggest concern. Another concern with safety is collisions, of having pedestrian collisions on Tudor Road with 50-mile-an-hour speed limit on Tudor. It's dark. Inebriated people do all kinds of things as you get down towards the rescue mission. You really have to be careful in driving through there. And so it's a concern for the homeless people or for the pedestrians in the area with the speed of traffic on Tudor Road. So those are big issues on safety. Personally, I don't believe construction's the answer. I think there's enough large buildings around Anchorage that are vacant that we can get in a lot more reasonable time, get those ready for service. Thanks. 3 minutes is faster than you think.
Thank you. Can we have speaker 2, please?
My name is Mildred Twitchell. I'm an elder that lives off of Vance Drive, very close to the hospital. I just got back from Washington, D.C. and Williamsburg, Virginia, and we never saw one homeless person there. On our trip, we never saw one homeless person. There was not one beggar on the streets, and we drove all through the town, everywhere. I don't know where they're hiding them, but somehow that city is managing their homeless people and working out solutions to help them. There are a lot of problems that the people that are homeless have, like they don't have money, they don't have housing. They may be addicted. They may be disabled. They may be mentally ill. I had a son who had schizophrenia, was mentally ill, and he lived on the street for 2 weeks. His dad was a doctor and told me, "You come and get your son." So I did, and I got him into the hospital. And that's what our navigators need to do. For the last, how long these people have been in the Sullivan Arena, they had plenty of time to navigate them. Where are the social workers? Where are the people that were helping them? Just providing housing and food, that's not enough. There are a lot of needs, and dumping people from the Sullivan Arena and dumping them to some other neighborhood is not going to solve the issue. They have a lot of needs that need to be attended to, and they should have been attended to. What has the city been doing? I think that Mayor Bronson needs to contact Williamsburg and ask them, how are you handling the homeless situation there? And you need to work at other solutions besides just trying to dump these people from one area of the town to the other area of the town. They need a lot more than just a house. My son was given a house. He started tearing up the floorboards looking for people under the house. So giving a person a house that's disabled or mentally ill is not necessarily the answer. and now he's dead. So you guys need to really think about what you're doing and not just dump them and build some place to say, oh, we're going to take them and put them there and everything's going to be great because we're going to navigate. What have you been doing for the last few years? This problem needs to be solved with a variety of issues, and a lot of people need to work at helping solve it. So that's my comment, and I'm tired of seeing people. I go to Little Caesars and there's a person sitting on the sidewalk right underneath a no loitering sign. Lake Otis and Tudor, there's somebody in the median that doesn't belong there. That's against the law. Where's the law? They're not doing anything to help the people that are violating. You go to the parks and people are pooping and peeing on the sign, and it's not safe for our children to run. So I think that the city needs to work at other solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 3.
Good evening, my name is Jay Stevens. I'm standing here for the House of Transformation. These issues that you're bringing up tonight, these people are already addressing and have been for a while. I heard the gentleman talk about the location of this new facility. It doesn't matter where in Anchorage we put this facility, the same issue is going to be there no matter where it goes. So let's not fight over where we put it. Let's just try and get this thing going. I think it's a great opportunity, and I think it needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 4.
Hi guys, my name is Esau Philippa. I'm also with House of Transformation. Me and my wife, one of the founders. We've been working on solutions with dealing with people coming out of attic programs. Wasn't coming out of DOC and stuff, and also working with the streets with homeless issues. It is correct. It's not, even though it provides jobs for these workers, to build this new facility, it still doesn't solve the problem. Yes, we are the case managers. We are the people that's supposed to go in there and give them opportunities, direct them and stuff. We have been perfecting that pretty much on our own. We had a couple other companies and facilities helping us out on this situation, but we had to really go on hand and deal with this, It might be an ongoing, but these guys are going through trauma. They're out here, they're lonely, they don't have families and stuff. So we have to step in and act as a brother and sister to these guys. The world's getting a little tough on gas right now. Wood just spiked up. There's a lot of stuff that these guys cannot handle responsibilities. So that's the type of programs that we've been establishing with House of Transformation too. We also established the Signatory Vocational Center. That's to back up the House of Transformation, which is a sober living, transitional halfway house, stuff, and the Signatory Vocational is also we're accredited by Alaska State to get them trained into a beauty school. That's what we started off, CDL classes, renewable energy. We were trying to train these guys, so they can actually direct. We're also trying to get into second chance apartment complexes, because a lot of these guys doesn't want to rent apartments to felons or people with criminal history. So guess what we're doing? Now we're going out of personal credit to go purchase these buildings so we can give them a 4th phase chance. You know what I mean? There's a lot of buildings out here that are big enough to house these guys, but we got to set the programs in there. We got to see what their needs is, where their problems in their whole life was at. It is a mental thing and stuff. We have people that's sitting in the Solomon Arena. These guys are coming in weapons, still coming in weapons. In fact, they're still selling drugs in there. I don't know how the security system is and stuff, but we've been able to tackle the security system along with Dre and a couple other people that we've been working with, guys that's been working off the streets that cares about the people off the streets. You know what I mean? Nobody never established anything with me and my wife. When we founded House of Transformation, we gave all our money to it because we also have other businesses too, for-profit businesses that funded that and stuff, because we saw the need for it. Nobody was standing there picking up the stuff. If we saw somebody in need, we would direct them towards House of Transformation, get them the programs with like PRC, choices, different other programs. Thank you guys.
Hello, my name is Brianna Pilley. Just to piggyback off of that, I'm also with House of Transformation, Transitional Living, where what you guys are saying is, that's great. You know, I like the idea, but it's something that we kind of, you know, took on as a family. This is something that we're doing also. We would definitely like the support of the community, you know. The thing is, we started transitional housing from a church, and we have to give it to God every day, you know. And I know you guys are talking about mental health and things like that. We literally spent hours as volunteers before we started this whole process, giving people the time that they need, you know, being the person that we needed at the times that, you know, when we were going through our own struggles. When we started House of Transformation, we really wanted to help our city. We wanted to decrease the population of homelessness. We went into transitional. We realized that, okay, it can't just be housing, right? Then came the apprenticeships. We started basically like a Big Brother program. That 1 minute isn't enough for me to even explain what House of Transformation does. And basically what we do is we want to be able to give people another chance. Moving them to another place like this, it's good and all, but we're already doing that. All it needs, like if you guys were here with Junior when he had his celebration here, it's really about putting your hand in. It's really about putting your hand in and everybody just feeding onto that part. We have the apprenticeship programs. We're teaching them how to be kings and queens. Okay, we're teaching them how to do life skills. We have 56 to 57 different life skills classes that people work on. We're realizing that people they don't know how to wash dishes. They don't know how to take the trash out. They don't get it. Sometimes they don't get it because of what they came from. You know what I mean? And so being able to provide the housing, being able to provide the different classes that we have, being able to provide the different, you know, having the people go through our 6-month program and then being able to give back to the people that are coming in. That's our community. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put everybody through the process so they can continue to help everybody out. Does that make sense? Like I said, House of Transformation is doing a lot right now, and we started with nothing. We only started with our hearts, actually, and I think that's a lot. 19 seconds. You guys can think about. Oh, and then we also have PIMA. We have a lot of problems, not enough solutions. I'm now the director of PIMA, which we do assessments, help people get the right level of care that they need. So it's housing, it's apprenticeships, it's getting the level of care, anything that you guys can think of. Go.
So if we could have speaker number 6.
All right, so you guys already heard a lot of the heart of transformation, right? So my name is Elizabeth Amavai. I am the assistant director for House of Transformation. However, just by listening in tonight on the navigation, it doesn't matter where this place is going to be at. What it matters is the people. That matters that people that cares for all these people that's out there, right? And so with that, you've already heard some of our residents that came up here today and talk about how their transformation from where they started to where they're at right now. We got to look at the success. We got to look at the vision. We got to look at the people that will be having the heart to be able to run that mission, right? And so here today, I got 2 minutes and 26 seconds. That's fine, because you know what? We're here today because we want you guys to know we are able to take it on board. We are able to be in that mission. We're able to take what you guys have to offer for us to help the homelessness. But with that, we cannot do it by ourselves too. You know, we need our community to all come together. And so today we come as a group here all at once, along with our residents, to be able to go ahead and let you guys know that we are able, available, and ready for this commitment to take on board with the homeless. Have a good one.
Thank you. Can I have speaker number 7?
Hi, my name's Kenny Peterson, and I'm not with the House of Transformations, but after what I've heard, I'd like to be. So, nice job. I've been following homelessness in town for a long time, and not too many years ago, we were here in this meeting in here when they were trying to talk about different places where to put things, similar navigation centers or homeless centers. And it's then that I learned that we're trying to address a problem for the homelessness, for those who are homeless. But at that meeting, I also learned that we're trying to address those who live in the neighborhood that are affected. There's a lot of neighborhood community folks that are affected by fear, by unknowns, by actual thefts and assaults and property damage and thefts and so on. So that there's both sides, many sides of this as well. And I think that both need to be addressed. I feel for Basher community. They're the ones who, I think this, if I heard right, this is in their community council. I also would like to be grateful for those who are in the, I don't know if it's South Edition or downtown, that's been taking the brunt of this for the last little while at Salvation, at the Sullivan Arena. They've done an amazing job for the last 2 years putting up with the impact of all this. So my Basher might have it. Before we wanted to put some in Sand Lake, we want to put some in Spenard. I've gone to all those meetings where they says not here, please. One proposal, one thought that I had is that a lot of folks won't want to go into a communal large area they can't handle for mental health. I think that we need to look at other solutions too. There's some ideas of pallet homes that you can get 30 pallets and 2 to 4 people can live in one of those, and we might look at site for them as well. I looked at the recent assembly redistricting plans for this. This is in districts, the proposed District 4. Which is the new Midtown extension. I live in Midtown. This would be in my assembly district. I think that if we don't want to do it in Basher, that as a Midtown community or assembly, that we would look for a different place in our own area. If not here, then we should find a solution elsewhere, such as the library downtown. If this doesn't work, let's find another place within our assembly district. However, I believe the wealth should be shared, and that there are 6 proposed, if not existing assembly districts. I believe that one of these or something similar should be in all of those. So not in my backyard, but yes, in mine and yours and yours and yours. And then that way we don't have to say, go over there, go over there, go over there. It says, bring one here, let us be involved in that decision. One over there, one over there, and one over there. So I'd like to have not just one of these, I'd like to have 6 of these, different formats and so on that we can share around. This is in my assembly district. I welcome it. If not Basher, maybe we find another place, but I welcome it in our assembly district and hope to find a solution. And House of Transformation will come in and help out those who are there. But I think we share the wealth, and that way we don't have to say not here, but let's find a solution where if not here.
Thank you. Can I have speaker 8, please?
I'm speaker 6. The numbers are on the back. No one said that. I'm Ron Leva, and if you felt a disturbance in the force, it was me. Kenny Peterson, who just spoke, is a bridge builder. He's a great guy. We went head to head when Rural Cap did Housing First. In Fairview, we wanted that campus for 200 jobs, Copper River Seafood. And that's what we needed in Fairview, not 46 end-stage chronic inebriates. So Kenny and I kind of bumped heads, but we made a bridge. And there's probably no other person I respect more than that person there, as far as extending his aurora of concern. And he's a very good person. I respect him. But I was next to the shelter for 40 years. It was a living hell for me. It took my religion, it took my marriage, it took my business, and it was terrible. And I tried to help. I didn't sell my land. I'm not a chemical terrorist. Whether they called it a pesticide or a disinfectant, I was certified. I didn't do it. I had permission. And hey, you're in jail. It's sad. And so when you try to do good, they're going to try to minimize the impact. Believe me, the impact is going to be so great, and they're going to struggle with every one of them, because I did. I know the impact and the overflow. And when the damage is done, there will be no reparations. You will just eat it and say, those are the cards I was dealt, and you're on your own. So whether you're religious, you're political, or just trying to be a good humanitarian, this is going to be a very, very difficult challenge. And you really have to team up. I'm out because I know what's coming for wherever they put these facilities, and they won't be able to satisfy you in minimizing the impact. It's that great. But the concern is, like an octopus, it's not housing first, it's a bubble. And each arms, jobs, counseling, this is a great situation to get them in the right area. But hey, my facility is still available. I didn't sell it. I think it would be a great jobs campus. And this was supposed to be a listening session, little disorientated when you have speakers. So anyway, I'm always available. Come down, I'll give you a tour, and I'll let you know what you're in for. Put on a helmet, and whatever tetanus shot, virus shot, you're gonna need it, because it's gonna come and it's gonna be painful.
Thank you. Can we have speaker 8, Captain Delgado? Oh, okay, thanks. Speaker 9, Kelly. Okay. Speaker 10.
Good evening, everyone. I reside in the UACC Community Council area, so that's the University Area Community Council. As many of us, we've talked about this for many months. I've been tracking and following this and learning all of this this past year. Like many of the concerns, the 24-hour security, what that will actually be like, what that will actually extend to when some of the neighborhoods extend more than a mile. So we're looking at 1.6 miles is directly where I can pin myself to where the new location will be. Also, there was you mentioned the $32,000 for the wetland mitigation, correct? Did I hear you incorrectly?
There is a need to modify an existing wetlands permit.
Okay, just want to make that clear, because at the assembly meetings, that $32,000 was said that's no longer a need now that the shelter has moved west. I know it seems nitpicky, but when we're talking about the add up of these dollars that are tax dollars, it does come into serious consideration that everybody needs to be communicating on the same page. Furthermore, this will be a low barrier shelter, correct? And when I say that, that's not a ding at anyone homeless, because I actually work with homeless, and my concern is also the structure is a concern, right? That is a cloth structure. I have several concerns with that. I thought there was a municipality code that ruled against these things, but I know there's things getting worked out with that as far as snow load, earthquake, and I could go on the list. However, the bigger concern for me as a provider is what's going on inside there. And I think there's a big oversight that's not being looked at there. I'm going to credit John Weddleton with this, who's here tonight with the Pine Street Inn. He kept saying the Pine Street Inn, they know how to do it, they've run it right. Well, I've done more research. I'm waiting for finalized numbers. However, they have several emergent navigation centers that are smaller groups. The reason why I bring this up is Boston in compared to us, Austin in compared to us, Vegas in compared to us, whoever we want to compare, does not have the infrastructure, or they have the infrastructure that we don't. That's not a ding at us as a city. We just don't as far as providers. So we can build a brand new structure made out of whatever, sticks and twigs. It's not going to matter if it doesn't run right. The security, the amount of providers, where the nurse is going to come from, 200 people is a lot of people under one area. This is the bigger concern for me. At this point, I'm accepting whatever numbers it's going to be, but it should be, in my opinion, smaller based on those reasons. Smaller navigation centers will better serve. It'll be more effective. Care will be efficient. Having more social workers instead of asking more or less social workers, 3 to 4, to put on different hats.
I have speaker 11, David.
Hello, my name is David LaPointe. I just want to point out that everybody in this room, anybody can become homeless. It's a problem that's not going to go away. I'm sure everybody's had somebody in their family that they're close to who they've lost to addiction or prison. This can happen to anybody. You know, I'm also with the House of Transformation, and I just want to say that Sal and Lena, the two who started this program, and who want to be in charge of this solution to our homelessness problem, they saw the problem of recidivism, of addiction, with the revolving door of the criminal justice system, and they didn't say somebody needs to fix that. They didn't say, I don't want the solution in my backyard. They kicked the tenants out of their fourplex and they invited the problem right into their fourplex so that they could find a solution to it. And since then, they've been building, they've been expanding and adding capacity so that one by one, we've been lowering the recidivism rate and solving addiction. And if there's anybody in this community who you want sitting on top of the solution to the homelessness problem, if there's anybody who can figure it out, it's the House of Transformation. So thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 12, Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew Gray. I'm the Secretary of the Campbell Park Community Council. Our community council is touching the site of the proposed navigation center. I have 5 things to say. I will say up front that I'm not against homeless people. I lost an older brother to drug addiction. I am not, I agree that we need shelter. But for those of us who live in the immediate vicinity, since last June, we've been told that this is going to happen to us. And we've never been asked for our voice. And so we've demanded a listening session with a man named Dave Bronson. That's who I want to talk to. I want to talk to Dave Bronson. And I've asked to talk to Dave Bronson. And with all due respect to you, please have Dave Bronson at the next listening session, because that's who we want to talk to. If you know Dave Bronson, please get in contact with him and have him come to a listening session so that we can understand why he chose this place and why he wants a large navigation center there. So I also have a concern about the next assembly meeting occurring on April 26th, where they'll be voting on this project moving forward. So I don't think it's appropriate to have the second listening session after that vote. I would ask that the assembly vote after the second listening session. I would also like to point out that there's a history of not really knowing the price of this. Last summer, there were some estimates. It turned out that they had forgotten to build bathrooms. And so there was a new estimate that was a lot larger. You guys know this. There was a lot larger estimate. So we want to make sure, I'm glad that Dal is involved. I don't think you're going to forget the bathrooms. but so that we'll have an accurate price so that the city of Anchorage knows how much this is going to cost for a temporary fabric structure. And then my last concern, I want to talk about the surge capacity. I think surge capacity is dumb. If somebody's number 201, are you going to say, I'm sorry, it's April 2nd, and now Mr. 201, you're going to need to go live outside? I think either the facility can accommodate this number or it can't. Having this sort of middle wiggle room that now we're going to add 130 people, either you can add an extra 130 or you can't. And I prefer a max capacity of 200. I like the idea of having additional shelters like this throughout the municipality. Finally, this whole idea that it's an absolute no alcohol, no drug policy, where do those people go? Where do those people go? Do they go in our backyards? Where do those people go? I think those people need shelter too. People who use alcohol and drugs need shelter too. I do not agree with that rule on the sheet that there's absolutely no alcohol or drug use. Anyone under the influence will not be allowed. Thank you.
Laquita, great points. I just want to clarify, Laquita, so for the listening sessions as it relates to what he's saying when the assembly votes, these listening sessions are voluntary, unrelated to the formal conditional use permitting process?
That's correct.
Okay.
Are you guys going to present that, what you're proposing? That's kind of why I came.
And explain what that means. What are we here for? Who's listening to whom?
And not to interrupt you, I was under the impression Assemblywoman Saltel and some others were going to be also presenting at this. So that's part of the reason why I came too. I was very surprised that there wasn't the mayor's administration, some kind of representation. I thought Terrence Shanigan would be here. I thought of numerous individuals. I'm sorry to discredit to you guys. I know you're here to present as well. However, we were under the impression that there would be more assembly members and personally the mayor or someone representing his administration. Up until community council, there was no representation by the mayor until March and this April, and Terrence Shanigan finally showed up, someone. And so all of us, it's a slap in the face, like the man over there said, Andrew Gray, that the mayor has continued to not voice anything at this point. But early on he did, so we only can judge him by on what he said during that first time, which was, I want max capacity sheltering. So then it becomes illegal to camp, and et cetera, and now we have more enforcement opportunity to arrest. And that is not right. We need to treat these individuals with dignity.
And they can tell it makes a 6
So I would just ask that if you want to make a comment to please sign up. The whole intent of this meeting was to give you an opportunity to come up and for us to hear your concerns and your input. Where's
the assembly? Where's the assembly?
I will say there are assembly folks here. But I'd like to continue to there are a few more people signed up to speak. I'd like to give them that opportunity. And then please, if you do want to speak and on the record, please make sure you get signed up. With that, I would ask for speaker number 13, Jason.
Thank you for being here. Those of you that are here, I'm of the camp of where's the mayor? This was one of his big things that he wanted to work on, and it's really disappointing that he's not here to hear community feedback on his plan. He is the mayor of this community. I would be reiterating a lot of what I've already heard. I would say is very disappointing. This looks lovely. Great job on the presentation. There's really no substance here. It doesn't really tell me what's happening at the shelter, what it's going to cost, operational costs, who's actually going to be there. There's nothing here. There's a few arguments from assertion that this is actually going to work, but there's really nothing to back it up. One of the notes that I wrote down is navigate to where? The navigation center is one component of dealing with this problem. We have a dearth of resources in our community. So we're going to put up this tent. Where are we going to help these folks get to? I don't see that in this conversation here. I know a lot of it focuses on the location, but we have to be talking about these larger things. This homelessness as a system response and not just this one thing that has been the focus. Yeah, operational costs. I mean, it's really nice, the rewording. The gentleman over here brought up a really great point. The one meeting that I was at that the mayor did come to, he talked about wanting enough beds so that he could send the police out. This paragraph up here in the upper right just kind of puts that in a politer form, but really it feels like the same thing. And I had similar notes to Andrew Gray. If somebody that is without a home and is in need, but violates one of these things and the penalties get harsher, what does those penalties mean? What are we going to do to provide for these folks? They're in need. They've done something wrong, but they're still human beings and we need to provide for them. And we need in our system to address that. And so I don't see on here a link to any website where I can find any further information. There's references to what other communities have done. Which other communities? I've looked into other communities. I've looked into Dr. Marbit's, the guy who came up here and brought his plans. I've looked into his stuff. If that's what we're basing it off of, I'm sorry, but those have been a failure from people that really work in the homelessness realm from a large amount of folks. Everything points to these smaller shelters, not what Marbit's been proposing. I don't see anything additional to what I heard the first few times. And it's really disappointing to come to a listening session to hear people's opinions about what? There's nothing in here. There's nothing to look into. I'm an operations guy. I want to delve into how this is going to work. What's the ongoing operational costs? There's nothing here. This is pie in the sky language on a nice sheet of paper. Again, it looks really nice. So props to whoever put this together. I'm hoping that the mayor will be at the one on the 28th. I will be here, and I'm hoping that there is some additional information provided to the community so that we can be better informed when we come here and actually have informed questions about an actual plan and not this high-level wishful thinking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, can I have speaker 14, Brian?
My name is Brian Silva. I live in the Campbell Park Community Council as well. I was shocked when the mayor proposed this navigation center and really dismayed when I learned what his constituency thought it was going to be. They were under the impression that this would be a compulsory, basically a concentration camp where the homeless would be swept up and brought in and forced to undergo treatment so that they would no longer be homeless. And all those things are basically illegal. It was sold on the assumption that these people were doing something wrong and that they could be forced to change against their will. And the very size of it when it was proposed was outrageous. I mean, we were talking 1,000 beds in an area that has really no services. There is a hospital, yes, but there is nothing else. It's not illegal to be poor. It's not illegal to need mental health services. It's not illegal to be incapable of getting along with others. And I'm glad to see that the size of the thing has been reduced, at least in projection, because 12, 13 years ago, our neighborhood was being surreptitiously turned into a 150-bed residential treatment facility by Siri, and the community objected to that very strenuously. And I'm surprised there aren't more people from our neighborhood here objecting to this. We didn't want it then, and we don't want it now. It's not just NIMBY, although that has something to do with it. We already have the mission in our neighborhood. And they do wonderful work. But when people come to the mission who are intoxicated, they're refused services, and they wander into the woods where they make the best of whatever situation they've got. I think the idea of small centers is appropriate.
Thank you. I do just want to clarify that I know a lot of folks were asking who's listening. And so, of course, you see Saxton and I up here on the stage, but there are other folks within the municipality that are here with us tonight listening to your input. We do plan on coming back with additional information about the project in the coming months. But this was just really an opportunity to listen to all of you as we're in the early stages of the project. And with that, this is gonna go a little out of order, but speaker number 21, David Ulmer.
It's easier to hold. I think that the housing for the homeless and the navigation centers is a great idea, and it's the way to go. But with Mayor Bronson, when he was running for office, his plan was all his commercials, we're going to put them all in jail. Somebody must have told him that was really a stupid idea. After he got in office, then he started going with 1,000-bed unit down back here. And that was really dumb. I thank the Assembly for killing that idea. This homeless problem is not an East Side problem. Everything that happens in this area, any bad things, the city wants to dump into East Anchorage. They wanted to move the bus barn over there. And now with the mayor wants to build the unit here. That got shot down, and now he's reduced it to 330, and there's not a doubt in my mind that if he gets that started, in no time at all, it will be up to 1,000-bed unit. It is really bad. If you think it's a good idea, go on the internet and look up the Dearborn housing in Chicago and see what a great idea that was to put all the homeless people and low-income people into one area. No good. I think that this unit here, I'm not against putting a unit in here. 100-bed, 150-bed max would be fine with me. But the homeless is not a East Side problem, is an Anchorage problem, and I think the units that are put in should be scattered throughout the city. Everybody should share the wealth of the homeless and have it in their neighborhood, out the Eagle River, just spread them all around. We can get 1,000 beds in areas throughout the whole city, and it'd be a whole lot better than putting 1,000 beds, 300 beds, whatever. I don't believe the mayor for a second. I know if he gets his foot in the door, it's going to expand. So my idea is small beds, not small beds, small units, and throughout the city. Have everybody take care of the homeless.
Thank you. Can I get speaker number 22, Lena? Is it Irene? Oh, sorry. Speaker number 23, Irene.
Yeah, that's good. I want to remind people of a couple things. First of all, for over 2 years now, we have had the Sullivan Arena with over 400 people. Sometimes it was 377. I think it's close to 500 now. And I share your concern, but 200 is a lot less than 500. So that is a possibility. The other thing I want to point out is that there has to be a balance between spreading it out and sharing the wealth and also making it cost effective. The more you spread it out, then you have to provide all of the services at all these different locations. I'm not saying that we can't look at that or that the administration shouldn't look at that, but there has to be a balance. And also as a reminder, the assembly before Mayor Bronson came in, they purchased the Golden Lion for over $9 million. Then they were going to purchase, which by the way was assessed, you can look that up at property values, at $8,800,000, I think, last year. And so that was a pretty close purchase in terms of, that it matches. Then they wanted to purchase the Alaska Club for over $9 million. Then they decided that was too expensive. Then they had a reduction from the people who wanted to sell, and they were going to purchase it for $5,400,000. It's assessed at $2.5 million, so they were going to pay twice as much for a building that needed roof repair, plumbing repair, and foundation repair because of the earthquake. And so that was not a good fiscal project. And then the same assembly before Mayor Bronson came in had no renovation cost. They had no budget for the renovation cost. They had no budget for operating, and that is all needed. I totally agree with that. I just want to remind you that the previous administration did not provide that either. So don't forget that. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have speaker number 24, Roger?
Hi, my name is Roger Branson. I'm a longtime mental health advocate out of Eagle River. Born here in Anchorage and grew up, and I would like to express my dismay that the mayor is not here today. It is good to see Mr. Drace, Mr. Baker, Mr. Twombly, and Junior Ove, and I appreciate those folks being here. I have been involved with the homelessness full-time for going on 3 years now. We were the camp here to occupy and a number of different ones. Over the last 2 years, it's been very frustrating for me, last year especially. I spent tremendous amounts of times daily at the Sullivan Arena, especially through the transition and the onboarding of 99+1. 99+1 as a contractor has done the best they can. They've been strictly, severely handicapped by this administration in their capacity to do stuff. The mayor is running a navigation center right now, and it is an abysmal failure, absolute failure. And it's good to see that he has money to hire PR firms, but if the mayor's staff could send somebody down there to help smooth things out at the navigation center, that would be awesome. Instead of insisting that a contractor who has odds and is vying for the contract, trying to get it back, is giving access that is adversarial at best. And so, we've got a navigation center. Why in the name of all that is holy are we not using it to its fullest capacity? It's an absolute failure. The folks that just need to make a phone call will go and sit for 2 hours to use a phone to find a ride to take care of their needs. That's not needed. And the ones that need to fill out paperwork, there's not an area for them to go and sit down and do paperwork. They pull them in one at a time, and it's not user-friendly at all. While I'm on the user-friendly, as we talk about building a system that will work for the homeless folks, for the folks who are experiencing these challenges, why are they not here? Why are we holding these in a place like this where they have limited access
And, the Sullivan Arena is sitting there. The Ben Bokie's sitting there. We could be doing the sessions there and actually listening to the people about what will work for them individually. But instead, the mayor appears to want to do everything he can to cause them to fail, to justify spending extra money, building oversized capacity that we absolutely don't need if we take care of these individuals now while we have the opportunity to treat them like the human beings that they are and to help them move on to what makes sense for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have speaker number 25, Cynthia?
Hi, so my name is Cynthia Patterson. Basically, I've been coming to these listening sessions since they started, and almost everyone has been like this, where it's just a couple of, is that better? Where it's just a couple of you all that that kind of listen to everybody talk, but I have not seen any improvement or any more information about how these navigation centers are going to be ran. As the gentleman before me was saying, the Sullivan has been there for about 2 years now. And I also don't see anybody being navigated into better situations. So I can't imagine how this tent that you want to put 200 to 300 people in is going to be any different. I hope the next session that we have like this, that the mayor is here and there are more people that could actually answer questions that the community has, rather than we're just kind of talking to you all, because I don't think that's really doing much. I think my biggest issue with this is that we're talking about putting hundreds of people into a tent. I mean, we can call this a fabric supported structure, but this is actually just a tent. I don't know if you guys are local here or not, but if you live here year round, that's not going to hold up. Like, that's not an actual reasonable house for anybody. That's ridiculous. We can jazz it up and say, that there's going to be townhome style, like I don't know, whatever they said in the last one, townhome style layouts or whatever, but it's a tent. You're talking about putting hundreds of people in a tent. And that's just weird. What I would like to see is, we as a community have a lot of great community members, and I think you've seen that here, who work with the homeless population, who have great ideas, who, could actually work with the mayor and find real solutions to this problem. And I also don't see that. So my hope is that you guys are conveying all this information to him. And that's what I would like to see next, is him actually being present, for one, and then two, actually working with local community members and not people from experts from out of the state who come here and say, let's put people in a tent. I guess that's pretty much it. I actually have one more thing. Well, no, I'm out of time. But when I see that you are going to, put people, they're going to get, the more penalties they get, they're not going to be allowed in the facility. To me, that reads that they're just going to end up going to jail at some point. They're not going to be allowed into this tent, and then you're going to put them in jail, which is basically what he wanted to do in the very beginning.
Thank you. Can I have speaker number 26, Leah?
If I had planned on speaking today, I wouldn't have worn a Spider-Man shirt. I'm so sorry about that. Also, I'm probably the youngest person in this room, but that's okay. I moved here to Anchorage in 2020 in August, and one of my first memories of being here is I saw outside of the ice arena that parents and their children were holding signs saying, "We don't give a puck about the homeless," and not really caring about what happens to our homeless community in here. And honestly, that was alarming. I'm disappointed by quite a few things people have said today. I'm also inspired by other things people have said. But I'd like to remind everyone that I think some 70% of homeless people in Anchorage are Indigenous, are Native peoples. I see that large sum of these people in this building are white. So I'm sorry if that's a slap in the face to some of you, but I want you to ask yourselves what we're doing to address homelessness at the root. What are we doing for Indigenous peoples to focus on generational trauma, resources for people who are suffering from addiction, and mental illness, which is very real for Indigenous peoples? Do you have any plans for resources in this building or tent, as many people have called it, for Indigenous people specifically? Because the needs of people of color are very different from the needs of white people. And I know that's something that might not have come to your mind before, but it's very true. I had some other things I wanted to note on while I had the time, just from listening to everyone. Oh, first gentleman said that there's other buildings that we could use instead of building new infrastructure. Again, back to that ice arena. We had a building that we were trying to use. There's going to be resistance no matter what. No matter where we try to implement this change, there is going to be a force pushing back on it. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep trying to implement radical change in order to help our homeless population. Oh, I'm so nervous. I have social anxiety, y'all. Oh, also, what are we doing that's different from any other city that's tried to eradicate homelessness? I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of cities around the United States that have built tents or buildings or have done something that's far better than what we're able to do here with our resources. What are we doing that's different? I want an actual answer to that. Does anybody have an answer for me? It's okay if you don't. I understand that. Honestly, I don't have an answer either. I don't know. I've heard some people say that there should be less beds rather than more. It's also my understanding that the ice arena went over full capacity. If we have less beds, is that going to stop more people from coming in? I don't think so. I think it's better that we have more beds to prepare for the influx of homeless people. Yeah, I think we should really be addressing homelessness at its roots and be focusing on the mental illness that many people have talked about, and the addiction and alcoholism and abuse. There's women escaping domestic abuse. There's teenagers being kicked out of their homes, children experiencing abuse who fled. What are we doing for them? It's not just about addressing the problem once it's happened. We need to attack it at its source, especially for our Indigenous peoples and especially for homeless people with families.
Thank you. Speaker 27, Richard. Okay. Speaker 28, Steve.
Hey there, my name is Steve Johnson. I'm a homeowner in the neighborhood adjacent to the proposed area for the homeless shelter. And I share a lot of the concerns that have been voiced here tonight, particularly in terms of the opportunities that this administration has had with the Sullivan Arena to demonstrate its capacity to deal with a navigation center, what was a de facto navigation center. I don't see the circumstances having proved that the administration can handle that responsibility or has a plan that significantly contributes to the possibility that they will be able to deal with that in a way that gives me confidence. I also share the concerns about the size of the homeless shelter that is being proposed for the Tudor-Elmore area. It seems common sense to me that the smaller the facility, the greater the care and attention that can be given to those who are seeking help. A large capacity facility, even at 200, but with a surge capacity up to 100 to 330, seems to exceed what just at a level of rationality suggests that you'd be able to give good individual attention to those who need it. I've seen what happened to the area around the Sullivan Arena when it was open. I recreate through there quite a bit and spend time down in there. And I know that the fallout for the community, for the area surrounding these shelters is going to be significant. I have students at UAA, I work there. I have family members who recreate and use the area around there. I know there's a great many wooded areas around that area that I worry that will be increasingly used by homeless people who don't have the services they need because the facility is not adequately designed for it, because the program that is designed to be implemented there is not adequately managed in such a way that will actually produce the results that we're looking for. I too support the idea that we can distribute these more effectively in places where homeless are more concentrated, to the extent that we don't have to move them around in order to get them access to the places that they need help. I think meeting them at their place where they are in the terms that they need is probably a much better idea.
Thank you. Speaker number 29, Claudia.
Hi, everyone. So I'll try not to repeat too much of what other people have said. But a lot of this just rings kind of hollow as the government claims, that they want to actually address homelessness and that they have all these solutions and keep on repeating things that historically for many years have just absolutely not worked at all. The biggest thing that I wanted to bring up here is all the aspects of criminalization of poverty and addiction that are going on in this plan. The first one to point out the APD enforced zero tolerance camping policy. First of all, how is that going to be enforced? Are there going to be APD people that are just stationed around a mile around where this tent structure is going to be? Because it's, as again, we've seen in both in Anchorage and many other cities, the increase of police presence doesn't do anything to make people safer. Second one of the mandated zero tolerance drug and alcohol use policy, as people have said before, doesn't mean people are going to actually stop using drugs. That just means that they're either going to be penalized for it with what, again, isn't clear. Is it going to be fines, jail, or either way, just having a record that then makes it harder for them to be able to get a job and actually be able to support themselves. What else did I want to say? Yeah, so, and also just because, as we've seen, Anchorage and many other cities have been trying to address homelessness for a while, but just because that there are services and things that people are saying they're trying to help people, if you're doing the same thing that you've done before, these services don't always work. Just because, we're saying that we just have any services for addiction, or getting a job or getting houses or anything, just because if we're doing the same things before under these guises of services that aren't working and aren't actually addressing homelessness, then what are we doing in the first place? Last thing I wanted to say was basically, a bunch of people have talked about issues of size, capacity, and the fact that this does seem to be just a tent. They're just wanted to point out that, figure one example, the tent solution, that looks like a tent that could hold 20 people max. There's absolutely no details about this, whether it be a tent or an actual structure, what it's going to look like, what the actual conditions inside are going to be for the people that have to live there. So yeah, I find a lot of this rings hollow. It doesn't actually seem sincere in wanting to address homelessness, but just kind of, keep things going as they are and put out the guys that were we're doing something to actually help end homelessness and just letting it go as it usually is. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get speaker 30, Niall?
I always like to record so no one changes my words. Firstly, hugely disappointed that the mayor's not here. He has a responsibility and a duty to be here. As well, Amy DeBoski, duty to be here. Under their purview, Anchorage Police Department has no business in mental health, alcohol treatment, narcotics treatment, or frankly, anything in our streets. Until the body-worn cameras are put on, they have no business in our city. They violate people's rights every day. Moving on to the issues of this center, you gave us no information. The project site map's up there. We, the people, should be up there. You should be in the audience listening. Corporations and special interests should not take this over. Seeing the public relations director texting on his phone with earpieces in is a disgrace. These people are human beings, so young lady, that is something that respectfully I do disagree with you on. There are issues of race, but human beings that are experiencing issues of homelessness, which I have, those are human issues. We all put shoes on one at a time. We all poop sitting down. And about poop, go down there to the Sullivan Arena. I've been attacked multiple times. It's on camera. Polar Press on YouTube, go look it up. There's about 22 porta potties out there. It's drugs going on in there, sex, defecating going on. They're passing drugs in between the chain link fence. So what do you think this camp is going to look like? Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to look like a FEMA camp. That's what it's going to be. And they're not going to stop with the people that are in the streets. They're going to come to everybody's home and do it to everybody. This is the time where we stand up and we say, no, these are our human beings. These are our fellow people. This is a disgrace. You cannot criminalize activity of sitting on a park bench. You can't criminalize activity of putting up a tent in Delaney Strip Park, which that's where I spent my first night here in Anchorage. First night, July 17th, 2019. I slept at Delaney Strip Park. The next day, I met a couple members of the assembly. And by the way, there's only two here. One, Mr. Weddleton. Two, Mr. Dunbar in the back row. The chair of the Housing and Homelessness Committee, Cameron Perez-Verdilla, not here.
Thank you. Can I have speaker 31, Michelle?
Oh, I'm sorry, Felix. Everybody.
Hi, I'm Michelle. Seems to me a lot of people in this room have short-term memory issues because this whole Sullivan Arena and a homeless situation, and I want to back up here a minute. There's homeless and there's vagrants. This whole vagrant situation fully came out full throttle underneath Berkowitz and the existing assembly. How many of you guys have ever been close to being homeless? Show of hands. How many of you been homeless? Okay, I've been pretty close to homeless too. Real close. My first husband wanted to see me living in a cardboard box when he was done with me. What I found was there's not a lot of proactive stuff going on here. Proactive would be making things easier for people who are about to become homeless. So like, for example, right now, if you wanted to go down and figure out how to get on public assistance, the building's closed. You have to figure it out online, I guess. So hopefully GCI didn't shut off your internet. But vagrants are a totally different issue. And I think what I'm seeing from this navigation center is it's really geared towards the vagrants. And I personally like the location. And the reason why I like the location is I'm a truck driver. I'm out at all hours of the day. I've been harassed by the vagrants. They are very aggressive. They are not nice. But what I like about this most is that it's really far away from any liquor store. And it made me remember the Clitheroe. Well, it's far enough away that it's not like right down the street. Like, you know, they're puffing in, etc. But it made me think about the Clitheroe Center. What happened to the Clitheroe Center? Is it still there? Why don't we focus more on that? I mean, they're so far out there that if you really want to drink or drugs, you have to go a long ways. So I don't know, but I know that the assembly has been dragging its feet, and thank you for being here, Mr. Riviera, because I was wondering, because you pushed it real hard last night to be here tonight, and I'm here to speak my mind. But this situation started with the previous mayor. It does need to be addressed. If you guys want to spread it out around Anchorage, I want one homeless situation in each and every district. Because right now Dunbar is trying to pull out and say he doesn't want one in his. Wham, wham, boo-hoo. Okay? Spread it out, fine. That's going to cost us a lot more money, but make it equal. Make it fair.
That's what we've been asking for the whole time, so has Dunbar. I disagree with you.
Well, he's now having a fit. He's having a fit about putting in this. So,
Because it's the way the current administration is.
Can you please let her finish her comments?
yeah, well, just to close it up is, you know, we've got to do something about the vagrants, and we need to keep vagrants separated from homeless, because homeless people are actually trying to get out of their way, get back up on their feet, whereas the vagrants don't want to.
Thank you. Can I have speaker 32, Yarrow?
Hi, my name is Yarrow. With the mayor not here, it honestly feels like he set up this listening session to check a box, not to listen. I don't have a lot to say about this navigation center, as I see a shiny brochure, but not a lot of substance here to speak on. We have no plans, no estimates, no real picture of what and how services will be offered, no operating costs or plans, and no comparables to existing construction. So instead, I'll talk about navigating to. Where will people navigate to? Where are our treatment centers? I see in this flyer that this will be a drug and alcohol-free facility. But we have no treatment facilities. Where will these people who need this help go? Why do we have a building that the Assembly purchased to use for a treatment facility being used instead for the mayor's friends to set up private enterprise? If the mayor, who is not here today, had set up the Golden Lion as a treatment facility, we could have this much needed service online right now. We could have people on the path to healing and recovery right now. Use the Golden Lion for its intended purpose. Use it for a treatment facility, not for friends and donors to set up shop. I just want to end with a thank you to the Assembly. The only reason why we have any progress on this issue right now is the Assembly. The only reason that we don't have a $40 million repeat of the Sullivan Arena is the Assembly. So thank you.
Thank you. Can I have speaker number 33, Gooden?
My author was not prepared to do this today, so I apologize. So, my name is Shelley Gooden, and I'm coming to you with a couple of levels of expertise. One, I lost my father on a night there was no low threshold access in Colorado on a night a few days before Christmas. He subsequently froze to death. My kiddo in the back never got to know his grandfather because of the limited choices in Denver. I don't want that for anyone here. Next, I've lived and worked as a counselor on the floor of a low threshold shelter with 100 women on the women's side for well again over that year. And I can tell you that what we're biting off here is really big. We're gonna need a lot of help, as we have said in other places. I've been the person sitting next to a mom who's trying not to relapse because those big facilities don't work. I don't wanna see that here either. I've worked with kids who didn't have moms at home. This is not gonna help them. Okay, Sightline Institute, if you want to do research, please look them up. They have great, well-reviewed research, and we need to be looking at that. We should be talking about housing, how we have affordable housing units. The reason this problem is continuing to balloon is that families like mine, single moms with kids, cannot get housing here. Substance abuse is not going to stop. These problems are not going to go away until people have a place to put their heads. That's not happening because of our zoning and rules. Let's have these types of meetings over this frequency to stop that, to grow our housing. Let's use good research, okay? We have a job center for this site. The Midtown Job Center is at 33rd. What is the plan for busing to get people there? You can see I have a tremor, I have MS. I would have to walk from that center over a half mile around the perimeter just to get to a bus. And then how do you imagine me getting on that bus, waiting in the cold, navigating the snow, and getting to a job center and home? We have to think about these things. Putting people back next to a dog kennel is not a solution to homelessness. We call it institutionalization. We have to hold these people to, and we have to help them. If we don't know the solutions, let's keep working together until we do. But this is not gonna help. This is gonna be a ballooning problem. Okay, so I wanna talk to you guys about the kiddo in the back. He is my 15-and-a-half-year-old who lived in that shelter with me. He was offered drugs. He was offered tons of things we don't want going on. We need plans for families. We need plans as a community. Folks in rehab and folks that work in this will tell you people cannot get better when they're in these big settings. And I too am concerned about what I heard, that we will criminalize, we will make it a 1,000-person shelter, and everyone who's on a street because they can't get into that facility that night will be put in jail or something else. We can't do this, guys. So let's do better. Okay?
Thank you. Can I have speaker number 35, Stephen?
Hello. Hello. Actually signed the wrong form. But since I'm up here, real quick, this is going to go through a conditional use permit. Is that correct, Laquita?
That is correct.
Is that correct, Tim? Tim Potter? Okay. Just checking on that. So it's going to be a temporary structure for 180 days, then taken down. What's going to go on here?
We're considering those options, but it's dependent on the public's commentary for programming, and that's what we're interested in hearing is the programming.
Okay, Title 21, 05, 080, permitting for temporary structures. I believe there's a limitation of 180 days for temporary structure. It could be renewed for another 180 days after that. During that time, you plan on submitting an application for a permanent structure. And you're going to use the same building?
Correct. The structure that we're looking at is a permanent structure.
You're initially permitting it as a temporary structure. Is this going to be a bait and switch situation? I mean,
No.
why don't we look forward to a true long-term facility, rather than just a sprung structure?
We're under contract with Roger Hickel as our construction manager through the RFP process. And so they're having those conversations with vendors to meet the timeline.
Okay, I have a funny feeling the sprung structure's already been purchased, probably.
Negative. It has not.
It hasn't.
Has not.
Is it in the process of being constructed by Sprung?
No, we are aggressively seeking that as it's the prefabricated structure is the only structure that meets the timeline within the calendar year.
Okay.
And so we would consider brick and mortar or any other construction material. It's just the timeline. It's the solution that meets the timeline. We left it open-ended in the RFP for contractors to propose on. And so we were considering the industry's greatest ideas, and it just really brought it down to a pre-engineered membrane structure. It ruled out, pre-engineered steel and everything else that we considered was so long lead. There's a lot of big projects in Anchorage right now that, Great Land Foods, I believe, is the biggest, most relevant square footage for steel building. A lot of us know pre-engineered steel buildings. And by the time they gave a commitment for a pre-engineered steel kit, it was 12 and a half, almost 13 months by the time they received the steel.
Okay, can we get the results of that RFP?
Or 100%, I believe that's public on purchasing website.
I haven't seen it.
The results. The whole process was public when it was published. Can we share the results?
All the contracts are all finalized. Once the contracts are all finalized, everything is public.
Okay.
The mayor typically signs NDAs with anyone that's going to do business with them. And that's what happens in the homeless community. That's what you write to the homeless providers. Not all the time, those who are here because it serves the human beings on the street, not the mayor's office.
Okay. Can we make sure he has enough time to finish? I know I talked a lot. Can we do like a minute 30?
Okay,
I'm sorry, I talked a lot.
Minute 30 is plenty of time. So, okay, so is that RFP process done?
RFP process is done for the construction manager. This is a CMGC project.
Right.
So we're under contract with our construction manager. We've not finalized the contract for our general contractor.
Okay, so after Roger Hickle's a general contractor. Okay, I assume his firm probably gonna build it, right?
The owner has to agree on the pricing, not to exceed, or what they call a GMP, guaranteed maximum price. So it'll be negotiated through all this with programming and everything else that'll be incorporated in the design based off the public commentary and everything else we're exploring. We'll determine the size of the building, all the way down to the amenities, to all the other costs. So we just haven't agreed on a price, and this is part of that process.
Okay. Okay, so after the contract is signed for the general contractor, then the results of the RFP will be made public?
Yes.
Are you from the purchasing department?
I'm the purchasing director.
It's Rochelle Alger, purchasing director.
Just checking. All right.
And just to clarify, Rochelle Alger and I have been a part, and in my role, I am a project manager by trade, but I am the director of maintenance and operations for the municipality of Anchorage. And Rochelle and I have led this effort, I believe, since late November. So.
Okay. All right, that's all for my questions.
Great, thank you. I have one more speaker, and then we should have time to let you speak. Yeah. Number 41, Rob.
Thank you. My name is Rob Marks. I have a little bit of experience working with the homeless. I wanted to address a few things that have been said tonight. Homelessness didn't start with the pandemic in Anchorage. It well predated that. And I want to repeat that in no way did it increase or decrease with any political party. It has been a crisis for years. Stating that, I would like to introduce something that no one has mentioned. The pandemic has made this worse, and I think we need to accept the fact we are in a state of emergency. People are dying. We do not have the resources in this city to accommodate what is going on. For years, services that do exist have been underfunded. No one in this discussion has talked about operational costs. Current programs, and I see partners in the audience, current programs that have been running for years have been running in the red, underfunded. The challenge here is we don't have enough mental health professionals. We don't have enough treatment beds. And for years, we've said there's not enough housing. Now, Alaska Housing's done some amazing things during the pandemic, but the net gain of actual housing units in Anchorage have not appreciably gone up. And right now, we need to also recognize the court system is just beginning to get back on track. So we're going to see an influx of more homeless as those are evicted. The other thing that we haven't talked about is some broken state and government and local systems. Office of Public Advocacy are completely overloaded. They're overwhelmed. We have the adult protective services. They're completely overwhelmed. The safety net is fraying to the point where there are gaps where plenty of people are falling straight through. The last thing I think I want to say is this. The use of the term they. They are our family. And until you have sat at a bedside of someone who's been chronically homeless for their last breaths, no one gets to say they. They're people, and we need to treat them with dignity and respect, and this process has not done that.
And please, would you state your name before you start your comments?
My name is doing business as Norbert Reese. My real name is Raul Antonio Reyes. But when I first came to Anchorage decades ago, there used to be only like 2 or 3, one known in California, one in New York City. Now there's over 20 of them. So, you know, it's so many that I saw in online. It's like some of them disappear, some of them are hardcore criminals. I'm not none of them, because I got issues with identity theft, which I was going to mention. That's homelessness too. Thank you.
Yeah, you can use that.
Yes, I'm kind of low. My voice is kind of loud. Yeah, I've been homeless for a while, and I used to have a family. So other than that, I came decades ago. I'm gonna look that way because I'm afraid of audiences. The point is that my business, doing business as Norbert Reese, it is a business, and it probably cost me a lot in the past, decades ago. I still got that. It's online, and thanks to Mark Zuckerberg and other great engineers of the past that are still hanging around. In the provisions that kept that, and I know what website keeps that name, that keeps my identity. Identity theft is dangerous. They can steal your wallet, take your wallet off your pocket, beat you up, and leave you unconscious. That happened to my father in New York. Other than that, in my commentaries, I got Siberian Eyes, which is hash, and you can see it online. While the cell phone I had last, because usually I counted for 7 cell phones that I lost, and during the shelter stage, because I was homeless, I lost over 4 of them. I don't have to name nobody, it just happens. And I posted some funny quotes because I like to give sense of humor. I put John P. Shelter. I named John P. Shelter the shelter, not to disrespect of Sullivan, but because Sullivan is a senator, I think it's very disrespectful to have the name being named all the time like that. But I named it John P. Shelter as a joke, and I think I laughed at it for a while. But the point was that, you know, I could be homeless. I just received a home, and this is the first time in 2 years that I walk out of the shelter of my room that I was in. I'm looking for jobs, so I came to the library. And I'm just trying to be part of the community. I'm also a felon, and I wanted to add that because there's the posse. I don't mean disrespect, is online. Like I said, you can see in my Twitter post because I'm very open-minded, and I talk it, I say it like it is. I walk it, and I talk it. And the posse of Elmendorf, which I respect the Air Force because I was in the U.S. Army for 10 solid years, and I don't disrespect them, but I sponsor them and help them. But sometimes they're kind of picky against homeless vagrants. And sometimes we vagrants are something, but it's because I rather be vagrant than causing harm to anybody. But if you think I'm a vagrant again, I applied for the APD department also. And I was a good profiler with the FBI. So when you get with me, you don't want to know about child support. I'm going to resume it real fast. It goes over 4 states: California, New York City, Florida, Puerto Rico. It's not far away. It's in your face. And when you put a knife in my shoulder or in my ribs and you declare, give me a check right now, I kill you, you're a native corporate or an American white corporate, you get it, you messing with the wrong people. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. So I think we have a few more minutes if there's someone else who wants to speak. Yes. And please make sure you state your name.
Hi, sorry, I wasn't planning on saying anything. I just came from the other meeting. I'm in the View Elementary. My name is Daniela Delozier. I'm a College Gate resident. And I just want to say that, you know, this dog and pony show is just a little bit late. And I'm really shocked by kind of the process that the administration has followed for trying to build such a big facility that's going to have such a detrimental and negative impact as we're seeing in Sullivan. So I guess I'd like to hear from you guys. Well, first of all, that piece of paper doesn't have a single dollar sign on it. I didn't even read it. I just looked for dollar signs and I didn't see a single one on that paper. So that's the first problem. But the other problem, and what I want to hear from you on is, how are you expecting to offer navigation services, which are currently being offered at the Sullivan Arena, which from the newspaper, only 25% of the population are even engaging in. So we're talking maybe 50 people. How are you not going to just move that problem from the Sullivan area downtown to the east side of Anchorage?
We don't have an answer this evening. I mean, those are the things that we're sorting through as we move through the process of this project.
Oh, my apologies. I thought you guys were answering questions tonight. So I guess the other piece is just the process, and especially around the permitting, I think is a real problem. I would love to see people in the audience who have any kind of legal connections look into the total bypassing on purpose of the temporary and conditional permitting that has been happening, a lot of backroom stuff. So, this actually happened in April when the mayor came on, and this room was full. It was emotional. People were saying, no way. And now we're down the road. The assembly has given you guys some money. You're finding money from all these you've got contracts signed, you've got Hickle Construction, you've got all these things happening. And now we're having a listening session? That is just crazy. I work in public health, and we have to get public comment on things that we're doing. By the way, which are evidence-based approaches, which a mega shelter is not. It does not work. Smaller shelters has been the technical assistance that the administration has received from not only your community partners, but from national, federal partners like HUD, who I believe was here just a couple weeks ago. So I guess that's the other bit is, why aren't you guys following the advice that you're getting from your community and from federal partners? So thanks.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that wishes to speak this evening?
What's Dow's track record on homeless shelters?
So we're helping to shepherd the project through the conditional use permit process and the wetlands permit modification, which we have a long history of working on projects like this or similar to this through those types of entitlements. And we've done quite a few projects in this particular location over the years.
And did our feedback tonight help you in that process?
I think that we've received a lot of good feedback this evening that will be helpful. And I do want to clarify, there hasn't been any permits submitted for this project for temporary structure or building permit or the conditional use permit process. We are following the process that is required. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that there's no construction going on and we are following the permitting process. I think there's a gentleman in the back who hasn't had a chance to speak.
I might miss this part, but I left for a second. Earlier you said it's early stages of development, but the mayor's asking for $8.2 million in the assembly. So what's that $8.2 million for?
I don't see the $8.2 million ask yet. I'm aware of a $2 million initial, because we have, through the CMGC process, there are work packages essentially. So what you'll see first is like when we agree on the structure based off of any constraints off of the programming with like educational rooms, mental health, wellness, or any of the health rooms or training, educational, how those rooms lay out will decide the size and the cost of the structure. I know that first ask, I can speak on that intelligently and say that that's what drives that first $2 million ask allocation. And so that's what you'll probably see more published immediately. But I'm not read in on the next ask. So, yeah.
I think you had another.
I would really appreciate it if I could walk away tonight with at least some affirmation that someone somewhere will at least consider providing resources specifically for Indigenous peoples. can I get any sort of affirmation that it will at least be considered, that someone, even if it's just you two in private, will walk away from this room and talk about it? Corporations.
Yeah, I can offer that, one of the firms.
I think that we're not in a position to make commitments. All the input that we're receiving tonight is being considered as we move forward and look at the programming for the facility. And we will be coming back with more information as we continue forward. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak this evening?
Yeah, just next time, if, again, communication could be clear among those in the administration, right, and you guys, because I actually do feel bad. I feel like you guys have been set up, or we were set up to believe again that this was going to be a listening session for you guys, and we would hear everything that everyone else has been saying, and not hearing these things in the paper or through other sources of social media. Like, for all the numbers, the 4.9 million from the general fund, the 1.3 for alcohol tax, the 2 million that's coming from the AK Community Foundation Fund, the already $800,000 for the shelter design, the $32,000, getting this from everywhere else, except for the people that we thought were going to be here. And they should be here. And again, I'm sorry that you guys have to take the brunt from all of us, right? Because that's not fair to you. So again, this has not been clear. I've been told that there would be a plan this month. We are quickly approaching the end of the month, and what you guys have shown us and what we've all voiced, there is not a plan. There's zero. We're still back where we were, so we can blame this on the previous administration, but currently, now this administration has not learned from the mistakes of the past and trying to push this forward in a hastily manner that is very disrespectful. Very disrespectful. I'm sorry, Junior. You're here also. Trumley, you're here in their place. And at least you guys could say something. But I know it's not your position, but you're here as a representation of the mayor. And this is garbage. We can only go by his track record. You've heard me say it, you need to tell him. I've told him before in assembly meetings. It's straight disrespect, and that's the biggest thing.
Sir.
This only fuels and feeds the narrative that everybody wants to believe or not wants to believe.
Sir, what's your name again?
My name's Jason.
Jason, you're very passionate, and I appreciate your comments tonight. I was born and raised partially in my years in East Anchorage. My dad was a football coach and coached many sports at East High School, and before moving out to Eagle River, and I grew up out there. I raised my kids here in East Anchorage before also moving out to Eagle River, ironically. But I'm a project manager. I'm a facilitator. I don't have a dog in the fight. I've got to carry out everybody's needs. Everyone who here, including myself, is a key stakeholder. You are key stakeholders. And believe me, we are recording these notes. This is part of making sure that we capture best practices at the Sullivan, lessons learned from out of state, got great comments from other facilities that you've seen. This is part of capturing that information to make sure that our designers, everything that's a part of building this is incorporated. So believe me, we are listening. And, I'm from here. I played college football, worked out with Junior in the summers, ironically met him out of state. And so, I have some stake in this too. And we are receptive. We are recording your, comments. So take it into account.
Are there any other folks? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Are you guys going to relate the information from this meeting and the thoughts from the people here to the mayor, or is he just going to be listening to his yes people?
We will be sharing all this information with the mayor.
And bring him to the next meeting. Bring him to the next meeting. Thank you. That would be fantastic.
We have a gentleman here who hasn't had an opportunity to.
Will there be more information of any substance on this plan provided prior to the next listening session so that the public can be informed of it when they're asking questions or providing their feedback? I'm sorry, this was really, really disappointing tonight. And I don't think as a process, this was a waste of time for so many folks.
Yeah, there'll certainly be more information as we continue forward. I don't know that I'm in a position to say that when there'll be a bunch more information between now and the next listening session, because our intent really was to get this feedback, because all those things that people were talking about, like the programming and the services that are offered, that all plays into the programming for the building, and how the architects lay that out, and all the kind of ties together. So we wanted to make sure we captured that information early on so we can factor that in as we are working together. But there'll definitely be more information forthcoming, and we will have more details as we go forward. Yes.
So on the 26th, the assembly is being asked to approve 6 or 8 million, I'm not even sure because it changes all the time. But they're being asked to approve several $1 million, 6 to 8 for this project.
8.2.
8.2. Before even the next listening session, what is this money for? Why can't we hear what this money is for?
And I think Saxton answered that. I don't believe it's an 8.2 on this next agenda, but that is to keep the project moving forward.
But part of the project, what moving forward? What does the money go to?
Have you already spent the 2?
No, we have not spent the 2, haven't spent a single dime of the 2. The money that we have spent is, if you remember months ago, the $800,000 for professional services. And that's how we're able to have Dow, these subject matter experts helping us through this process, and our other engineering teams. So, I mean, I could list all them, but that's the only money that's been earmarked thus far.
So they don't need to approve that. They really don't need to approve that money.
The assembly and the administration work together to authorize the $800,000 to get to this point.
So they don't need to approve that.
And I want to mention this, they never bought my property. It was vetted, studied, reviewed. Hey, it's still available, 3 acres, training center. Come on down, we're familiar with the homeless in our neighborhood, and they shouldn't be called homeless. It's derogatory, let's call them the unhoused.
Noted, Ron.
We'll take one more comment over here.
Just one more comment. We were talking about the money and asking the assembly to approve funds and asking for that taxpayers' dollars to be used towards God knows what. Would you feel comfortable taking this to a bank and asking for a $2 million loan on this project? Do you think that they would give you much time on that? That's what essentially you're asking the public to front money for this. There's nothing to it. So please, I would reiterate, more information. And I think I'm not putting this on you. I think the assembly should be embarrassed to be asking the public for money. If this is what they're presenting, they're going to put the money towards.
Thank you. I really, one more.
Really quick, what is the timeline? If you don't know it now, if it could be presented next time we gather, but we have no idea what the timeline is.
Sure. So as far as process, we have of course, the listening session on the 28th. And then as we go into May, we will be moving into the conditional use permit process, and there'll be a community meeting as well as us visiting with the community councils. And so as we go through that process, then we'll make a determination when we'll make the actual application submittal to the city. Because oftentimes, just like this listening session, we get information from those community meetings that are important that we consider as part of the project.
So you don't have a timeline yet for this project up there on the board?
Not a full timeline yet. And some of that is because we have these permitting process that we have to go through. The CUP process, can take several months to get through, as well as the wetlands permit modification that needs to happen.
We would love that if everything works out that way. But the conditional use permit, the modification to the wetlands, it's such a project constraint at this point that's what drives the schedule as far as the timeline goes. So
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We really do appreciate your comments. So thank you.